What is a steering committee, or a SteerCo as it's sometimes called? And how do we get the best value out of those meetings? How do you maintain and grow the trust and admiration of your senior management in those meetings? And what do you do if the meeting starts to go wrong? Well, stay tuned because I'll have the answer to all of those questions for you, and stay to the very end for a bonus tip that I suspect may cause a little debate. PMI defines a steering committee as a meeting where senior stakeholders provide direction and support to the project team and make decisions outside of the project team's authority. The meeting should have a terms of reference that clearly explains the responsibilities of the board, membership, quorum, meeting frequency, inputs, outputs, and it should also explain the limits of its authority. This is because every organisation is different. For example, some organisations will have SteerCos that provide resources and authorise funds, where other organisations will have those decisions made elsewhere and the SteerCo may just focus on project progress. These meetings are critical to the success of projects, so much so that most project environments with any level of maturity will have made them a mandatory requirement of just having a project. That said, it's incredibly easy to mess them up and to harm your reputation in the process. Everyone makes mistakes, but making mistakes here is particularly bad, and that's because you're dealing with the organisation's decision makers. These are not the people you want to look sloppy or unprepared in front of. I've made a series of videos about how to look good in SteerCos though, so I've got you covered. Just check out the other videos on this channel and you'll be fine. But the first thing you need to do in order to look good here is understand what a good SteerCo meeting looks like. You must keep in mind it's a decision-driven meeting. The company you're keeping here are the decision makers of your organisation. They're the managers, the directors, the execs, and they're in a position of power that enables them to make decisions. So if you've gone to the trouble to attract all of these people to be at the same place at the same time, and then you just use the meeting to level everyone up, you're wasting an opportunity. You should be leveling people up as part of your stakeholder engagement activities between the meetings. So coming back to the decisions, as a project manager, you have the ability to make decisions yourself, but they tend to be within the limits of scope and timescales and costs and quality, benefits and risk that have already been decided somewhere else, most likely the SteerCo. But if you need to make a decision that goes beyond those limits, for example, you need more money, more time, or to change the outputs of the project in some way, this is the forum you typically need to come to explain your reasoning, and often you need to go there to get formal approval. Also, if you need help to resolve an issue that's beyond your authority and you've tried everywhere else, this is the place to come. If the project isn't progressing because a supplier or an internal partner isn't performing well or has prioritized something else, this is the audience to share that with because they're empowered to do something about it. An example of this is if your project has to upgrade a team's tools in the next month, but they say you can't because they can't afford the disruption at this moment in time and to come back in a few weeks. Your SteerCo may represent people who can influence that team to enable your upgrade to take place sooner, or the SteerCo may have representation from that team's leadership present who can add some context to the problem and find enough way to resolve it. And failing all that, they are the people who are able to approve the lengthening of your project if this delay proves to be unavoidable. Keep in mind, escalations from the project go up to the SteerCo, decisions go down from it to the project team. You send them the big decisions and approvals with your recommendations, and then you have to continue driving the project forward based on however they've responded. I hope you're finding this useful. If so, give the video a like. The SteerCo also applies scrutiny and is expected to review your progress, so they'll be interested in receiving your status report and the details of the progress of the project since the last meeting, possibly including other documents such as plans. The SteerCo scrutiny is well intended. They are representatives of the business, and on behalf of the business, they are trying to make sure that the business case is still viable, to make sure their investment is well placed, and to ensure the project is in control and delivering as planned. But I'll be honest, there are some attendees at these events who think scrutinizing means challenging the presenter, applying pressure, or trying to just catch them out. Honestly, the best you can do is just be prepared. Make sure that you know your content, even if it's been contributed by somebody else. If you're presenting high-level information, make sure that you have the supporting information or detailed documents and that they're easily accessible. The truth though is you can never be fully prepared for attendees who feel they add value by throwing grenades at you. The best response is to always answer honestly. If you don't know something, admit it, tell them you'll assign an action to yourself to find the answer and respond before the next meeting. Don't try to bluff your way out, and hard as it is to remember in tense moments, engage your brain before you speak. You'll encounter difficult meeting attendees throughout your career. It's just a fact. But usually they do it so often that everybody knows that they're the difficult one and that it won't reflect badly on you. Easy for me to say, I know, but I've seen so many project managers feeling beaten up by these meetings or dreading the next one. If I could, I'd put my arms around every one of you. Oh, it's HR again. That was fast. If you can sense that the meeting is moving away from its purpose, try to get it back onto the agenda. If a problem's been found, capture concerns in whatever's being discussed, repeat those concerns back so they can see that you've grasped the problem, and then move on to the next agenda item. If the meeting's descending into a talking shop and progress has just halted, try to bring the delegates back to the next agenda item. I know it's difficult, but do your best. And now a bonus tip. If the meeting agenda's concluded and there's still time and you've finished earlier than the time allotted, don't just open the meeting up for a general discussion. Instead, get into your wrap-up. Close the meeting down as if the time had run out. Most people are grateful for meetings that end a little bit early, but my main reason is it's a poor environment to open the floor to random topics that you've had no influence over and no chance to prepare for. The problem isn't that this will create work or anything. We're not being idle. It's about inviting ill-prepared and random thoughts into a forum that due to its nature will have to formalize them. I can't tell you how many times I've seen projects have to waste time and resources chasing down actions because somebody at a SteerCo expressed a worry just because they felt they had to say something. Also, it's possible to get a little too relaxed after the agenda's over. We often hear about people failing job interviews for things they say when they think the interview's over on their way to the door, or how mountain climbers are more often injured on their way down the hill than they are on the way up it. And there are plenty of times when I see project managers have harmed their reputation and credibility in the closing minutes of a SteerCo. When the defences drop, they relax because the agenda's over and they think they're talking with friends. When the agenda ends, ask if there's any other business, do it in a structured way by asking everyone by name if they have anything to add, and then end the meeting. I've got a lot of meeting related content on the channel, so please go and check that out, including this one about how to get the right decisions every time at your SteerCo. Warning though, it's controversial. It will pretty much guarantee that any decision you take to a SteerCo gets approved, and it's got a lot of likes for that, but it's got a few dislikes as well. Go and see what you think.